So you were talking about chords and that energy. You kind of just touched on it there, but how did you go from that guy, debauchery, you met this dude, became a member of the LDS faith, and then how did you get to this, talking about energy healing?
So one of the things is around 35 years old, around there, I was just kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was looking for another self-development book. So my mentor said, if you're stuck in life, there's probably a book waiting for you. So in my mind, I'm like, there's another book waiting for me. I feel stuck, you know?
That's really
and, yeah. And so then I'd go on Amazon, and then just, you know, the algorithm was really working for me. And then the emotion code showed up, and I'm like, oh, this is
right above you
right there. Yeah. The emotion code. So I said, I need to look into this. And I read it, and I remember going like, if this kind of contradicts my Christian faith, I may put this down, because technically it was my first energy healing book I've ever read, but like, I'm not willing to sacrifice my soul, in order to, like, you know, find a technique of some sort, you know? So I was very wary when I read it. And, what's interesting is I picked up the book and dropped the book like over 8 to 10 times, which a lot of people, when they look at me and they're like, wait, Emanuel, you made 400 videos on YouTube about the emotion code, body code. You're the last person I would think would pick up and drop the book 10 times, but it's because I had a heart wall. So I had this wall around my heart, and I felt numb. So I make a joke that Dr. Brad could have walked into a room and slapped my face and said, you're going to be one of the great energy healers, you know? And I would have been like, who are you? And where'd you come from? And why are you in my room? Because I didn't feel much, you know, I was in a bomb shelter still, you know? And so my mission doesn't look attractive when you're looking from the inside of a bomb shelter, you know, everything looks dark and murky. But once I started clearing my heart wall, the attraction to the book started, like, the books became lighter to me. And then when I was looking at the web series on how to become a practitioner, it was like I would stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would just be like obsessed now. I'm like, there's something here. And so that's when I kind of knew, like, there's something here, but I had to remove my heart wall first.
That's really cool. So, like, I grew up a member of the LDS faith. I'm currently not practicing, but I still identify as that, and I still love the gospel. So I still understand what it's like to be that. But how does that work? Like, how does that go? It doesn't contradict any of your Christian beliefs? Great
question, and probably the greatest question asked so far, because a lot of people are wondering about that. And I also want to speak out to, like, Christian faiths as well. Is that I feel like what people are not ready to believe in is that, first of all, let's start from the beginning. Let's start with miracles, right? Energy healing is not a miracle. Okay, so and Christians believe when you're doing something that's amazing, they automatically put it under a subtitle of this must be a miracle, which means you're trying to do things that God would do for us directly or through the priesthood of the church, you know? And so that's the first misconception, is anything that's like, wow, you like healed, like the arm healed itself, when technically the immune system is what really healed it, you know? Then you automatically want to jump to the conclusion that this is, you're robbing the spotlight off of priesthood, you know? So that's one. The next thing I want to say is that,
well, then I guess if that was the verdict, then, like, same thing, ibuprofen, you know, any modern medicine is robbing the same thing. That's the
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So would you say that energy healing, it's not like people, because when I first met you and I thought this stuff, and, like, speaking honestly, man, like, I'm a very practical guy. I like to use logic.
Sure.
But I can't deny a lot of, like, spiritual experiences that I've had. In very non-religious areas of my life too, very violent areas of life, from the jobs I had and things like that in the military. And I think is it safe to say that energy healing is like a form of technology?
Sure. I would even say it's just like a tool we use. And in fact, like, for example, doctors use scalpels to do surgery, right? They're not using air, you know, they have to use a tool, you know? Right. Same thing with energy healing. It's just a tool. It's almost like finding out the body's own self mechanisms of how you, you know, we're smart enough to have a person who creates a car to have a tune-up system, but somehow we think in our egotistical minds that God wouldn't put a tune-up system for the human body. So the human, we have like a diagrams and like how we work and how we produce emotions, you know? So it's almost like the purest form, the purest scalpel that we could use is to look into the body and be like, okay, so there's ways to manipulate the energy that we are, that God created us to be, these systems, he created these systems. So isn't there a systematic way to tamper with the body to get it back to where it is, right? Or we can go and follow a big mafia-oriented big pharma and say that take pills, which technically is a Band-Aid, for long-term horrible results of liver issues, kidney issues, and your body's literally falling apart. It's your choice. You can choose. Either you go through that way, but do you want a Band-Aid, or do you really want to just go back to the same system that God created you and say, what do I need to turn up? What do I need to release? What do I need to remove? What do I need to tune up? So then just it heals itself. The body heals itself. And I think also too, you know, there's some Christian faiths that they believe all you need to know is the Bible, you know, like don't read any other book, don't read self-development book, you know, don't read any energy healing books, you know, all the answers are in the Bible, you know. But then it's like, why do you go to school and why do you go to college? You know, it's like there's so much, like, why do you go to trade school? You know, it's like you can't become an engineer off the Bible. You can't, you know.
Yeah.
So the Bible has its respective area where it's supposed to assist the spirit to be fed. But when it comes to like technically going out into the world and mastering a technique of some sort, you have to look outside. That's why we have libraries, you know? And so I just feel like, again, the people that really ruined it for us, I feel like, in my opinion, energy healing, are the 10% fanatical people that we don't like in church. You know, it's the 10% of people that are overly judgmental. They go, oh, energy healing is the source. We don't need God. We don't need the priesthood. It's like those people, those loud, obnoxious, fanatical people ruined it for the 90% of people that say, no, energy healing has its place. Church has its place. God has his place. The priesthood had its place. We had our compartments until the 10% spoke too loud.
Yeah. So to me, because I'm in an interesting spot, and we've had some lengthy conversations before, where because I'm outside of a religion, and I can set aside like a certain thought pattern and think kind of more freely. I think.
Sure.
I hope so. But I've tried to like set myself in their shoes on how I used to think. Right. And how I know like my parents think, or like how they, you know, other people I know that are, you know, so dug into a religion or a train of thought. And I can't.
We're talking about the cultural.
Yeah, the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, then you have the opposite. You're saying there's like energy healers that are like, you know, we don't need God because we have energy healing.
Right.
And then to me, I've looked at both.
Oh, yeah.
And I've looked at like a staunch religious person who's like, that's blasphemy. That's witchcraft. And then someone's like, we don't need God. Like that's the two extremes.
Yeah.
And to me, what you have talked about and what I've bumped into, because when I'm meeting you and getting you involved with this, you know, us doing your podcast, like you kind of set me on a journey inadvertently. And the further down this journey I go, the more it supports the fact that there is a God.
Right.
It leans towards that. If you can analyze everything and look at it.
Yeah.
Like everything is frequency, right?
Right.
Emotions we feel, everything, our whole body is like an antenna for emotion and frequency. That's why we have a soul.
Right.
Like if you believe we have a soul, this is all part of it, right?
Right.
And so do you have a hard time, or do people push back on you because it's newer, or like what's your biggest, like if I'm a member of the church and I'm like, what's your biggest pushback that I give?
The biggest pushback is cultural programming, is what they've learned. And we have something in our instinct DNA where we would love to just please our parents. That's instinctively in all of us. Like we have something where it's like, I just want to make my dad proud, make my mom proud. So if they teach you certain things for a very long period of time, and some new person outside of that tribe says something new to you, it's hard to be able to insert something new, you know? And I think, but however, though, I do have to admit that somebody who actually does spiritual work, like you know, there's a term where it says, you know, there's so much truth everywhere. It's like a broken glass, you know, and it's just like to say that one church monopolizes truth, that's blasphemy in itself. But there's glass everywhere. There's glass in tools. There's glass in modalities. There's glass in other faiths. There's glass in religion. There's just glass everywhere. I'm not a church seeker. I'm a glass seeker.
Shards.
I'm just looking for the shards.
Shards of truth.
Yeah, and I mean, even Joseph Smith, and you can say anyone can say whatever they want about him, but he's the type of person that would go into a trash can. Like the Apocrypha, obviously we don't consider that the main canon of our church, because it's like
the Jewish.
No, it's basically like lots of different people writing after Jesus passed away. It's just kind of like later, like the later Gospels, like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. There's there's just different stuff going on there. But he's the type of guy that would go in there and he would find it and he would make a statement that say some of this is true. And I was willing to go in there to find it, to extract it.
Right.
And so I admire that. I'm a person that's like, he's willing to go to the bottom of a trash can to find that amazing sandwich that lies below there that no one would find because you're too scared of the trash that's in there. Then you missed out on life because, like I said, like in times of war,
diamond in the rough, right?
The diamond in the rough. Winston Churchill said in times of war, I'm going to say this, in times of spiritual war, that truth will be well attended by a bodyguard of liars. So you have to move the bodyguard of liars away to find the truth and extract it. It's so precious. Yeah. And so I don't expect it to be so on the streets right there. I do expect I have to go through a different, if I go to another church, I'll go in there and I'll find their truth in there. I'm like, wow, that's powerful extraction, and like, what other truths do you have in there? Oh, that's good. I'm like, I extract it. And I won't be like, oh, all you guys are all false. It's like, we're more gray than we think, in my opinion. Like, we have to stop thinking everything is white and black. We love duality, but there's a lot of gray, and in the gray there's white, and I'm willing to go in the gray to find the white. But yeah, it all takes discernment and praying. Does this resonate with me and things like that? But before I was a member of the church, I was a truth seeker, and now more than ever, I am still a truth seeker. It's something that it's like my food, and so, but my main, like a compass, I love how S. Michael Wilcox says it. He dips into other faiths like Eastern religion to clarify things about, Christianism and things like that. So he'll put his compass leg out, but his main, I'm trying to remember, there's a term for it. It's like the core leg stays in the church, but his other compass leg tries to reach as far as it can to like find any truth it can, but there's his core leg doesn't move. Mm-hmm. I can fully relate to that. It's like my core leg is not moving anywhere. Yeah. And my main core beliefs won't move, but there's so much to learn out there,